mainly because it's not an executive branch uh, agency that falls under the supervision of the president. Now, the president could ask for an investigation from that agency, but it'd just be like anyone else. It wouldn't be like a command. It would be, submitting a request based upon belief that something has happened, some sort of violation of ethical law. There's no way that would work if a political party, and I know you're going to say the Democrats control it, and maybe they do, I don't know. But there's no way that that office would work if a political party or a president supervised it. And in fact, with what the court is probably seeing, they're like, oh, he's trying to suppress these type of investigations, including the Hatch Act investigations. But again, you have to be careful because what you're all doing is setting a pattern and practice. I've been telling you this. I don't even know if you hear me or somebody intercepts my things, and I see this is a little loud. I'm going to turn it down a little. But to turn the volume down there. Well, what it's going to do, it's going to jam up everything you're doing. And then on top of that, you want to threaten judges. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing that you're doing makes any sense. Yeah, you can play the game for a little while, but eventually that's going to run out. And again, if the law is with you, generally the courts will. So don't read too much into what's going on, because they'll be like, oh, look, that judge changed their stance after we threatened judges. No, the judge looked back, said, okay, you can do this. The law is with you. So don't think you're getting somewhere with it. I mean, because you got a Reagan judge now that's ready to trounce you. Right. And that's bad. Because you can't say libtard or activist judge. Right. Thank you, Larry. Gosh. I'm feeling a little better. I'm hoping I can calm this all down, most likely so I can get surgery, and I'm not sure how that's all going to happen. I don't foresee myself having surgery in Kansas City, but who knows? Right. Or this area. Well, now you're down to a Reagan judge. See, I knew this was going to happen, something like this. I kept looking for it. I'm like, okay, where's the conservative judge so we can wake him up? Right. Well, because you're being lulled into a false sense of security. Well, if you argue, what are you going to argue, that this is happening in front of a court, that you're being picked on? I mean, Ken, like I said, Ken Paxton, Bailey, Kobach, they all use this process. Right. So you're in what it is, you're in the election mode, and you have to get out of it because it doesn't work in court. Because you're not in front of a jury. You're in front of a judge, and you're making jury arguments, like emotional jury arguments. You probably lost your experience base. I warned you about that. Thank you, Larry. Well, maybe somebody's in there that can argue right, but that don't make any sense to argue. Essentially, it's inconvenient for the president to have to work with this person now. And well, first off, if the president didn't illegally fire the person, if that's what the case is, and it's probably what's going to be found, then we wouldn't be sitting here arguing anything. So what I'm saying is the court is going to take that argument and look at it, like, hopefully they don't yell at your attorney one, because I think that particular court said, I think that they don't have a say in it for some reason, or there's no need for them to have say, right? And just turned it back to that lower court. And the other one that you won, they just don't. The case wasn't appropriately prepared. I don't know if they had standing or something else issue. I think a standing issue. Right. So again, you're being set up, all of you. I've been telling you that for a while. Thank you, Larry. Well, I imagine somewhere in the Justice Department is the person that should have argued that case. Now, this might be a Republican that helped you or something. I don't know. And so you put him in a position. I don't know how that person got there. But the argument doesn't make any sense. Well, you have in these type of cases, in front of the judge, you have to argue the law. You can't argue anything else. So what they generally in a jury trial, you can argue emotional things, and I guess it's the best way to put it, and then sway the jury. But the judge is going to look at it like, what? Especially the Supreme Court. The president wants relief from having to work with somebody that he illegally fired. I mean, if that's what it is, and it probably is that. That's one of the few agencies where you may not be able to win. And the ones with the attorney, the inspector generals, or inspectors general, is that what they say? You trying to find my sandals I bought. This is crazy. They just said that, she said, look, I'm not going to sit here and, hustle through this just so, you can get back to work when it took you 21 days to file. Right. She didn't say, oh, no, we're not going to go through the case and make it work. Right. Something's asking for something to be moved away. So you have to be careful, because in psychic world, sometimes you think it's yourself. You've got to remember where you are and where they are. That was, and things petitioning. Like most people can hear things. And again, their spirits can speak independent of their body. No, I never used this to flim flam anybody. I've never flim flammed anybody in my life. Right. Try to say I left the government as a con man. That's bullshit. You're the con people. You should have came clean, all of you. Right. This is like insane. I had the blip to buy a second pair of these sandals, but I'm like, what for? That just shows you it's real, Oh, there they are. See, as soon as I thought of second pair, I found them. Well, because it doesn't want me to buy a second pair. It wants to keep doing this to me. Well, I was cleaning up yesterday, and I moved the stuff a certain way. Now, I'm probably at the point where I need to get my my back operated on. I probably should have did it 4 years ago just to, maybe return to some better life. Well, I'm not prepared to let my left side of my body crunch up like it did. It just probably wasn't healthy to begin with. But again, I was steered in so many different directions. I was lucky to move through that somewhat successfully. Well, I don't know what the end result is. In other words, if I get this thing taken care of, then I can do the massage to my heart's content, right, and get other treatments. Right now, if it, it's just when it gets real loose, it starts pinging that sciatic nerve a lot. And, right. I'm just, yeah, when you cramp up your upper back, you could screw up your arms, and I don't even know, where anything is at this point. So it looks a little tight to me. So I'm gonna have to put some magnesium oil on it and loosen it up. There's no way I should have waited. They just got in the head and they did what they do, and operate around me and will this and will that, and next thing you know, it's all messed up. Oh, I know what that is. Now, so I crimped my neck. So what's happening is it's tightening and loosening, right? And that's not good, right? Because it irritates something, then unirritates something. So it actually causes irritation when it releases. So when I woke up, my back was tight, which could happen even if they fix it, but I don't think so. It seems like it's lumbar oriented. Well, like I said, I should have fixed this a while back, and then I could have figured things a little better. Yeah, I crimped my neck sleeping the other day, and it's gotten a little better. No, I definitely had a better sleep last night. But it's like I can't win for losing. I buy something and it's spicy, and I didn't know it was spicy. I'm trying to get away from spicy food. Get halfway through it, I'm like, oh no, it's spicy. And I was trying to get away from soy, and next thing I know, I'm in soy, and it's just, again, something's fighting everything. That comes from them stalking you and cursing you. Right. No, I couldn't see my disability at all until now. Again, they're evil. And you might, again, blindsided. You can't see your administration's disability until it's too late. So I'm telling you beforehand that your arguments, and you might win, I don't know, but your arguments don't seem like they're going to work. So what I did is I took my ashwagandha, and that's what they had got me off my ashwagandha. Again, they will that type of thing when you're purchasing it. So again, it's like a medication, I guess, but it's natural. So yesterday I was able to get further in cleaning my apartment. I actually got quite far. I got further in like a couple hours, yet not even a couple hours, like an hour yesterday. I did in like 2 months. So I call it a alchemy, but it is what it is. I'm trying to get the temperature up in the apartment. We're up to 65 out here. We're 70 in here. And that could be part of it too. Again, in another week, so I wait a week to make before I make any types of decisions anyway. I made a decision, but we'll see. Well, it's going to warm up in like a week or so. I'm not sure the exact time frame. I have 2 doctor's appointments today. It's not something I really want to do, but it just didn't make sense any other way. It doesn't seem like this winter storm is going to be all that. All that powerful. Now, if I could have saw my disability, I probably would have never. It would have been enough, concern to fight. Even, I would have did something different in relation to massage therapy. That's for sure. Now, it's only limited in advantage. Trying to get to this weather. A lot of interference today, like psychic interference. I don't know if you know what that means. And it may be because I have a doctor's appointment today and they're focusing. But it looks like it's going up to 47 degrees next Monday. So, yeah, a week from now. And then Tuesday, 50, if it holds out. All right, so, yeah, and it's like 50s and 60s. So we have like 7 days. Actually, Sunday, it looks like it's 44, according to this, if it holds out. Well, when your back cramps and then lets go, there's always a little bit of inflammation from the cramp. Right? And then I'm going to get a steroid shot that can relax all that also. And then, might be a little bit better. Well, what's happened is one leg is weaker than the other, and it can cause a lot of other issues in the body. So, well, that's still the big problem because you're going to run into a lot of issues around your immigration program. And if you're not, if the judges feel, oh, I know it's wrong. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I didn't drink my tea. So, when you don't have caffeine, you're like, well, I got my sink clean. Oh, geez, my sink was like, buy perfect sink. It's nothing that cleans the sink better. Now I just got to try to get my congestion cleaned a little better. It looks like it's starting to move, but well, again, I've seen attorneys over the years, and the argument kind of looks like a jury trial argument. And maybe there's nothing that person can argue, so they said, "What am I going to do? I'll fall back on this." Which means maybe this is the point also. This is another one. I came down, the Supreme Court is with me on this one. I can feel it. If there's no reason to argue it after they petition, then drop it. You're in these courtrooms arguing something ludicrous. That could quite possibly signal that the attorney doesn't have any reason. There is no law that's on your side. I think you did in one of the cases that you kind of reversed. Right? So just be careful that you're not just out there flailing your arms in public all the time, because then the other side gets encouraged because they're winning all the cases, and then the public's like, what a knucklehead, what are they doing? Well, I think I didn't drink my tea because I was thinking, do I want to go back to sleep for a couple hours? But I feel like I could, but probably won't. I'll just lay there. I probably had 7, 8 hours. I don't know. Not sure, but again, bumping it up slowly. Again, that's the sleep I used to have, like 8 hours. I was a little concerned when that dropped back to 6 or less. Again, another reason that they shouldn't be, quote unquote, disrupting my life. So again, they will things, and then off of that will, other things happen. But I think maybe a couple hours today, or even an hour, I'll have this clean enough for the pest control tomorrow. I was hoping that it was Wednesday, but apparently they're coming in tomorrow. So I'm not going to have to call anybody in to clean. And actually, it doesn't make sense until I declutter. Well, I'm not sure what to do. It's just the weather that's going on. It's not a good time to bring people in to do this kind of stuff. Right. As soon as the weather clears. Well, what I'm looking for, somebody will just take the stuff off my hands. Right. If they would take what I need them to take, right, I might just give them the saw and the drill. I'm gonna wait until after a little bit. But again, I don't think I'm in condition, back wise, to just wait. To see. I think I have to see an orthopedic surgeon and at least get that moving forward. I kind of wish I'd have went, and maybe maybe the Lord could have been a benefit in it, but still it should have been like, there's no reason that I can't have sought other treatment and other doctors if that course wasn't going to be beneficial at that moment, like those particular doctors. Well, it really did junk up my life for the last 4 years. Right. And the back was cramping and all those type of things, on and off. No, disruption disrupts your entire life. They're not controlled people at all. Yeah, it seems like the best tea for the stomach is Earl Grey. I don't know why, but I used to drink it years ago, but I stopped. I drank green tea, but it didn't seem to do the trick. I guess black tea is the strongest too. Yeah, being cold in here, that could irritate it too. I'm thinking this year I'm a little more. We're up to 66. Well, I told you not to fire that guy because I didn't think, because it's not even in the executive branch really. I mean, it is, but it's just an independent agency, like the inspector generals of the departments. They're not independent offices. Right? They are and they aren't. You know what I mean? Right. This one was constructed for the specific purpose. And then the Hatch Act You got to be careful of that. If they think you're trying to, so I mean, they don't like the thing is that they don't usually prosecute that all that much, right? But you don't want to be overt about it. Well, there's obviously there's violations of Hatch Act that occurs, and nobody prosecutes, right? Just like everything else. Right. The judges aren't confused to what's happening. There's enough judges that are not going to back down. Whether you find one or two that do, is neither here nor there. Well, what I'm trying to do is get this up to 70 and see if I could take it up higher. If I can, I might, as crazy as it is, buy one more. But I don't want to be sitting in there freezing. That's what happened during that cold. I like had one in my bedroom, which got me up to whatever it was, 68, 70 during that freeze in Oklahoma City. Well, at this point, I think this is the funny part, right? Because now it's the left side. Like last night, it was the right side that was impinged. So it's just like it teeters, I think, back and forth. Right. That's which nerve it's impinging upon. It was nice yesterday because the left was a little bit stronger. So my left is a little bit weak today, and it's probably time to just get that off the nerve. I probably, like I said, should have did it 4 years ago. Probably would have been better for it because my walking would have been more straight. So yeah, like my brother and I went back and forth. Is it regular arthritis? And Steve said, my brother says it's in the joint. It would be. I said no, it's not in the joint. The joint doesn't hurt. It's like where the nerve comes out of the spine. Yeah, I couldn't see my disability, and they didn't want me to see my disability. That's why I didn't see it. I didn't know what was happening when I was getting massage. All I know is it worked, and I was healthy again. Now I can see now, knowing what's going on, that it began to degrade almost, within months. Well, the bottom line is that when you get that fused, you still got to go through other stuff. You can't just let it be tight because then it's going to take out the other discs. Right? It'd be interesting if they could. I guess it'd be too technical. Design a flexible type of fusion. I mean, probably would work over time, but oh yeah, I should have went to doctor sooner. Should have seen it, but again, you can only do what you can do. Well, obviously, it took it. There's 4 years of immigration that occurred. So as far as deportation, in let me bring. I'll explain it this way. In 2019, 2000 or 2020, in 2020, there were some self deportations because COVID hit and there were no jobs. So they're like, well, I'm going back to Mexico. Right. Their money, they send their money back to Mexico anyway. So living in the United States is more costly. They do a quick whatever travel to Mexico. drive or take a bus, whatever it is. And, not everybody, but people self-deported because I'll just come back later. Right? And we actually kind of needed them. Okay, what the difference is, I was letting my left side cramp up, and I realized that I didn't want to do that. Right? Like my lower back would cramp up, and my leg would cramp up, and I get some use of walking that kind of worked. And that's what's been happening the last 4 years. It probably wasn't wise. Right? I probably should have, because I can see it now. It's going to be nice. I love nurses. Nurses love me. And, as long as the doctor does a halfway decent job, I should be okay. Right? I couldn't see it. They were doing shit to me. Again, their will. You're not going to get me away from the metaphysics of this thing. Okay, I'm here to explain that to you, and I've explained it for quite many years, or quite a few years, actually a lot of years. So they're willing something, like I don't get the surgery. So a lot of things happen where I don't get the surgery. And they're carrying the power of governments and millionaires and billionaires and whoever's in it. Thank you, Larry. Or the anti-power. No, because I would have got. I was starting to see that, and then it got killed. I guess because they saw me make movements to get surgery, and make movements to go back to my brother, because that's what I needed to be around my brother, right? And it's his family, right? I spoke to my mother on the phone. I'm so sad. I'm probably shocked at her aging. I haven't seen her in years, but me and my mother were good friends. She just didn't have the capability not to fight the thing that makes people hate me. It's Satan at the pinnacle, but there's a lot of people also, and there's physical operation. Well, the sheriff's department probably fired her as soon, or followed her as soon as she decided to do something nice for me, because they're on the wiretap, at feds and the federal, state, and local people. Fidley's part of it. Again, I like Pam Bondi, but Fidley's corrupt. Right. Well, for Pam Bondi, she needs to find if she has better attorneys. Oops. Right. Thank you. I just don't know. I mean, again, you got some trial attorneys, and I think that's what's going on. And you can't, they're not. You can't argue trial things. Again, I think maybe Bove is looking at, because he's been in the trial business. He's got his mind in that direction, and he wasn't one that made that argument. Somebody else did, but I don't know if they're talking about it back and forth. Well, you need somebody who can argue, and I don't know, in front of those courts, the straight law. And if there's no argument, you got to fold. You just got to go. Pick your battles. I don't think you'll be able to remove that guy. I mean, maybe they'll find that the president has that broad latitude, but it doesn't make sense. And again, when you're threatening impeachment of judges, and then you go in front of the judge and you want to say, I have this right to do this, I don't know if they're going to give you that right to do it. I mean, when it comes down to it, if they see it as a challenge to the Constitution, well, it's like Elon said, democracy. It's funny because most Republicans wouldn't go near the term democracy. Before the election. I don't think a lot of them still do, because they equate that with the Democratic Party. They see us as a republic. And he's saying, well, then democracy, and well, it's not a pure democracy because of the I guess it's the Federalist Papers 10, if I'm not mistaken, because of factions. There's something higher than a democracy, where if Adolf Hitler and the Nazis took over, you couldn't just throw people in an oven. If people say, well, we should throw people in ovens, or we should deport Americans. I mean, So again, the United States is structured to actually be superior to democracy. That if an evil democracy took over, there would be certain protections that would cause the evil democracy to fail at its evilness to a certain degree. Right. Well, Elon Musk's argument might work during the election, but it's not going to work in front of a judge. And them saying there's the fourth branch. Every employee in the executive branch has an obligation to not carry out an illegal order. It's a check and balance. It exists. It has existed. I always said for years that the United States government actually has checks and balances hidden within it. Now, of course, corruption's corruption. You're finding all these crazy, expenditures and things. He most likely could have been fought from outside the department, but of course, you gave them enough rope to hang themselves. Right. But be careful, because that's now happening to all of you. Agreed, Larry. Well, I'm not seeing that's probably going to. I got to be sure I see, but I don't see that that it's all going to go where you all think it's going to go, like the whole thing, the whole plan. I guess it's whatever 2025. And I don't think it helps Trump to President Trump back up to president. See, they're downing the president. He's no longer president. And if you don't take care of me, at a certain point, God will probably have me stop upping all of you. And it'll probably be sooner. It's not going to be like 3 years like before, or 3.5 years of your administration. But the quote that he who saves his country does not commit laws, that's subjective. That's actually, you can actually define that in law, but when a person says that, like President Trump said, they're going to say that's subjective, because they're looking at your pattern and practice. Thank you, Larry. I mean, again, that works for what? That works for an election, and maybe even a jury trial. Kind of like hype. Shift back into my shoes. I'm trying to get some exercise in here. So I'm just kind of walking back and forth while broadcasting. So it's just like when I'm outside. That's what I'm doing right now. What you need to focus on when you go in front of the court is arguing the law. Arguing inconvenience is kind of weird, especially since somebody's suing you for something you did. Right. His argument should have been that it was lawful for the president to fire him, but I guess he couldn't argue that. Well, it's kind of weird. It's like, because President Trump unlawfully fired this person, he shouldn't be inconvenienced by having to work with him, when it's not even It's not like it's an attorney general or some position in the Justice Department. This is a completely independent agency, not even falling under a department. Well, again, settle back in and don't violate the law, and then everything should work. I mean, that's all I can tell you. Yelling activist judges isn't going to get you anywhere. And you may find one or two. Because why? Because the Democrats are going to go to the judges that are activists or something that's left leaning. I don't know if he's exactly activist. He definitely has opinions, just like there's Republican judges out there that have opinions that are like insano. I mean, they don't even benefit Trump administration. Well, because they'll be against the expenditures to raise the. I mean, their senators that are against raising the. What's that thing called? The debt limit. Right. But now you have a Reagan judge that's pretty much adamantly opposed to the. And I can see your argument. You're like, oh, he's Washington State. That's a liberal state. Right. With a Reagan appointee, I wouldn't go there. Right. Because you're just confusing yourselves at that point. I think, yeah, it could have been mold. It still could be mold. Right. But I just shut down the humidifier and I seem to be doing better. But I wasn't doing better before when I shut it down, so I'm not sure the reality of all of it. But this other humidifier just keeps shooting out plastic smell. Right. I'm not too into that. So what's going on right now is there are people listening that are willing, trying to impose their will on what I'm saying, and they just tried to steer me back into speaking about 4 years ago. Okay. Not because they're investigating something, because they wanted me to just go, well, 4 years ago I should have did this. Right. They're experimenting at being devils. That's really what they're doing, and imposing their will on another. If I didn't want to get this back and forth walking exercise, I'd actually be cleaning my apartment right now. I have a section right here that I could just clean up. Well, again, it's cluttered more than it's probably dirty at this point. I just have to declutter. I don't know if that's possible right away. Well, yesterday, for some reason, this thing shifted, and the left side really wasn't as impinged as usual, and the right side actually had some discomfort and impingement, and it really felt kind of okay. But again, surgery theoretically will impinge on both sides. You know, I didn't know everything. I wasn't seeing everything. I didn't probably ask all the questions I needed. Like yesterday, I Googled it, and they tried to screw my head up over it, and I really wasn't bothered by it. Right. But I Googled a couple things, and I was getting more information. And this is the process is a little stronger right now. No, it's not God. It's that God would have wanted me not to even have this problem in life. And I, again, came out of government, was focusing on the church. I wasn't, lifting weights. I wasn't doing anything. And again, this comes from the stress. Actually, they stress me out. I tighten up, and then it eats up the back. Right? Because people, they do lift weights all the time, way heavier than I lift. Right. So they're putting all that stress on you, and they know what they're doing. They make people sick all the time. So like right now, it's loose, my back, but I can feel the impingement and all that. And I just, I should have 4 years ago, I should have been able to get to this point. Again, it's what they do to a person's life. Well, I just want to get well and be able to walk and be able to do this, but focus more maybe on spiritual conversation. Well, I think the Trump machine is trying to do so much that they're not picking their battles, and it's just going to ruin the larger effort. Well, I guess one of the big questions to be answered is, can this administration cancel the law of a budget, what's already been allocated? Right. And there's going to be a lot of challenges to a lot of different things related to budget, I'm sure, in the coming days and years, months and years. Well, it's just really strange because they scream, dollars, 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 and then they want to raise the debt limit. It's just, the whole thing is just strange. Right. Well, when you get in front of a court, it gives a certain vibe. Well, like I said, I can see now, and I was beginning to see it as a positive process, the surgery, but I can see now, that it would have been a positive process. Again, there's a lot of influence in the mind that we don't know about. I try to explain to all of you what it is so that you understand that it exists. Well, we were going to do like a whole bunch of stuff. I was going to invoke the rehab and all that. So it would make it easy. I wouldn't even have to worry about a place to live. Correct. Or I could even probably leave here, leave my apartment, and go, go get the surgery and then go right into rehab. The Pope's in a downturn, so you can see it. Again, you might not agree with everything the Pope's doing, but the Pope does heal. Like if you don't believe in healing and blessing, then you don't see maybe his value. Again, somebody that's opposed to your political opinions or whatever it is isn't necessarily a bad person. Again, that's where we got to, and that's a bad place to be. I just figured something out. I don't know if I opened this morning or not. My door wasn't locked. So no, I would have thought, I think I looked at it before I went to bed. So I must have just did it this morning. That's part of the reason it's not heating up. It was my front door was correct. But it's already up to 67. Well, I just want to know I can take it to higher than 70 in that front room. So I know when it drops down lower, it'll stay up at least at 68. I'm going to try to get it to 72 out here. Otherwise, I'm going to buy another one of those. I'm just not going to let it get freezing in here. Years gone by, I did that. I just like live back in my bedroom and let the rest of the apartment get cold. Not below like 64 would probably be the lowest. And I have a little bit of inflammation on the left side of the back, and a little bit in the arm, but I haven't had that massaged all that much. And it cramps and lets go. That's from my experience. That's where it comes from. The other day, I when I had it released, I really focused on it a lot. There was that inflammation was gone, and it was real loose. And what I did is I moved my back around looking for pains and things like that, and nothing was pinging. So hopefully that continues. Again, it's still tight up here too, to try to get that released. Well, if it's irritated, it takes a while to unirritate, and sometimes it takes the steroid. The steroid is the big discerner, right? Because what the steroid does, it allows it to relax enough that it all heals. And then later, even if it cramps lightly. It's like a firm, not a cramp. Again, I probably should have focused more 4 years ago, but I couldn't. And again, they're attacking me, so I can't get away. There's no way that they should be allowed to be there. That's the bottom line. Anybody disabled has a right to have a life without people attacking them. Just so you can say I'm paranoid and crazy. I mean, come on. Just so you can make $1 million being a devil. Come on. Well, and again, there's a lot of people that look at Elon Musk's lifestyle and they're like, that are conservative. So again, people are in the Republican Party are focused at the mission, but they'll say, well, why isn't Elon focused on the mission? Right. Because that's not a good look. Another baby. Right. I'm not dinging Elon. I'm just saying what your issues are going to be. Well, there's going to be separation from the parties and all that. Like, see here, I'm automatically starting to clean. Where before, if I even thought about it, I was just freaked out. And again, it's a spell. Part of it's a spell. Part of it's a psyop. Right. No, I have smell. So it's not COVID. I'm just hoping that I can get my congestion dealt with in the near future. Again, I probably should have moved from here after 1 year because I realized how bad the sinuses could get here. Right. But again, I wasn't in any condition to move at the 1 year mark. Again, maybe they did that. Maybe they increased the pressure and the stress so I couldn't see to get out of here. Again, they're psychologically torturing select victims, and that's what they do. And I was put into this thing by people that are just psychopaths that wanted me tortured, wanted me to fail in life, and never wanted to let me back up again. All these tricks of the mind. Well, that's in the past, and you know, you lived your life, and now it's our turn to make millions torturing people. That's who it is. They want to act like there's someone else. Now they're trying to will me in a certain direction. So what's happening is they're starting to move against Musk. Now Trump has been able to weather that storm. Because they see it as Elon, not as him. But again, a lot of what you're doing is going back and forth. And it's creating a little bit of confusion. Well, I'm going to go for now because it's an hour. I'll be back in a bit. Stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.